Journey into the unknown. We left, with our pit bull Sugar and our chihuahua Kiona, the five of us stuffed into a 1996 Ford F-250 two-door crew cab. We headed out of Utah. We stayed in a couple Airbnb properties while we searched for our forever home. This first rental was less than 600 square feet, about the size of Athena's half of the duplex she lived in when we met. It was a cramped 2 months while she worked from home, and we traveled hours upon hours searching for the perfect property. We had all our eggs in one paper-thin, tiny basket, and I was terrified I was going to drop it. We had submitted a few properties to the pre-approval we had with the mortgage company, and they were all denied for one reason or the next. We didn't have a plan B. This was it. If this didn't work, I had to go back into a truck. I didn't want to drive anymore. I didn't want to risk having to be gone anymore. The plan was to drop my CDL and never drive a commercial truck again as soon as we landed and knew we could be secure without it. I hated commercial driving with a passion by this point. I was losing hope. Athena didn't. To this day, I still can't explain what happened. We stopped for lunch one day after looking at a few houses and found out from our realtor that the other houses we'd had scheduled for viewing the rest of the week just went under contract. The bank also called while we were eating and gave us the bad news that our number one pick was not going to qualify for funding, and the other three or four in line wouldn't either. I was hopeless. We discussed overeating if we were going to pursue a property that had just come back on the market in an area we hadn't considered at all, or head back to the Airbnb and come up with another plan. If we were to look at this property, we would need to stay 2 more nights in another hotel to save 8 more hours of driving back and forth to the Airbnb. Athena left the decision up to me. We were either going to spend the weekend in a town we'd never heard of and look at a property we barely were interested in online, or head back to the rental and try something else. I don't remember turning right instead of left. This is not something I do regularly. I drive for a living, remember, and have been for 17 years. I know my way around the blacktop. I'm mentally frustrated writing this, trying to remember why I didn't turn left instead of right. It's aggravating that I don't know why I'm feeling what I'm feeling right now. I can't describe the confusion of not having this memory, or knowing that I wasn't the one in control of my motory functions at this time. I don't really know how else to explain it. Athena even says that she didn't expect me to go that way either. I remember the GPS welcoming us to the state after crossing the imaginary state boundary line. I guess we're looking at this place we hadn't considered looking at. We spent the weekend cooped up in a tiny hotel room, waiting to see the place without having to drive halfway back across the state and waste fuel. The three of us and two dogs. Comfortable wasn't a word we used too much that weekend. The room had two full beds and the standard motel bathroom setup. It had an okay indoor swimming pool, so we went to Wally World and got some shorts to swim in that first night. It was good family time. We really needed the entertainment after the trips we'd been taking looking at houses. We went up the day before the appointment with the realtor to check out the exterior on our own. It was perfect. The house isn't too big, but it isn't too small. It's set on a hillside, but it's manageable. It faces to the north on the hillside, but not too bad. We pretty much decided to really consider putting an offer on the house before we'd even met with the realtor to see the inside. The realtor was working for both of us and the sellers because our original realtor did not have a license for the state. It's confusing. We could have hired a different one, but the original realtor would not have gotten the commission for all the miles and work she'd done for us up to this point. Like I said, this was not our target area. Our original offer was hiked up by the realtor's suggestion from the beginning. Then this woman continued to cause issues for us. She tried to tell us our mortgage company was wrong because she listed the house incorrectly and they were having issues finding the deed to the property. Long story short, it took 2 months fixing the issues this realtor would cause and had caused trying to close on this home. The sellers, who are our neighbors now, are amazing. They realized what was going on and fixed the issues themselves. We'd even discussed with them to wait out their contract with her while we rented from them to save money from the Airbnb rentals and doing the sale ourselves. It was a mess, but we're here somehow. The first year here on the property wasn't as bad as we prepared for. The fact that we face north shields us from the rough south winds in the summer seasons, which has been very comforting during tornado season. The winter, at least, this first one here, wasn't too terrible. Cold, but not Utah cold. We only had 2 days where we got iced in because the roads were impassable, but that's doable. I was able to find a job shortly after putting in our offer on the house, and it was not driving. Thank you, God. It wasn't as much as driving. In fact, it was almost exactly 25% of what I made driving, but it was helping. For now, it didn't take long. About 3 months for Athena to tell me I needed to make more. I had to swallow a big, fat, nasty, hard pill that day. I had to admit to myself that if I was not able to control my past spending habits and keep my wallet in my pocket, we would lose everything we just received. I had to be willing to give more of my income, which the selfish, lustful, and gluttonous demons in me did not like, to the joint funds account that Athena has control over. This keeps me from overspending and her not being able to pay bills. Yeah, these demons are that bad. At the same time, the cost of everything went up, way up. Our power bill went from $200 to $500 within the first few months. The air conditioner went out 2 months after we signed. Food costs more now, about 4 times more. Fuel costs more. I'm commuting 40 minutes to work and making a quarter of what I was when my commute was only 8 minutes. We had just bought our dream home, and we were about to starve out of it within the first year. Again, Athena's parents are amazing and sent help exactly when and exactly only what we needed. 100% a blessing from the Creator. They worked out a deal with us to buy back a car we'd sold them before we moved, so much so that they even assisted us to get back to Utah to get the car. I had to find employment, and I found my first non-driving job at a big box home improvement store, making a fraction of what I was driving a cement mixer, but not having to deal with the slave-like regulations and laws of driving a commercial vehicle was worth the trade for us. And being able to interact with the public instead of just offending everyone I was around, I was really enjoying the job. It was just enough to get us through for a while more. Knowing that we'd moved from a religious area to a different religious area, my guard was up for the Bible nuts. I'd dealt with and fended off Mormons since I was 16, but I didn't know how to fight back with the Bible. It wasn't something Mormons focus on. With having this be the second place of employment in this little town already, and running into more and more Bible thumping Christian nuts, it was time to do some research.